Hi, I'm Sabera, and this is the Greek Memories of Azur Any Percent run. A little bit about this game. It is a puzzle platformer, Metroidvania-ish sort of game, where you have three Koran siblings, these little elf-like guys. Greak, who is our main character, title character that we're seeing right now. Adara, his older sister, who has magic and can hover, and their older brother Radel, who has a grappling hook and heavy armor and a big sword and a shield. Greek is by far the fastest of the three siblings. Over the course of the run, anytime we can do something with Greek by himself, we are going to do that. This dodge roll actually moves Greek faster than his basic walking speed. And also, you can dodge roll off of the edges of platforms to fast fall. We're going to make use of that. There's a little bit of coyote time in this game as well that we'll be using to make some jumps here and there. You stagger if you fall from too far. We're going to try to avoid doing that by using double jumps to that. This very intro area without enemies and jumping and climbing walls, and then there's a bridge fall. And when the bridge starts to collapse, we move over to the left so that we can fall as fast as possible. This takes us into the stream sequence here, where Greek is spoken to by his sister Adara. So this is all a dream. This entire sequence. But this is actually the tutorial that teaches us how to climb on things and also how to operate with our siblings. So we do get to meet Adara briefly here. They're going to reunite with each other, and this will teach you the mechanics how to use two siblings together. So it is actually a little bit faster to climb the wall from that side, the right wall, than it is to worry about climbing the platforms as intended. And so a lot of this revolves around teaching you what sibling puzzles look like. I call them sibling puzzles. So here, the game forces you to switch back to Greek, and then as soon as you get in range, it wants you to hit the mimic button, which causes the siblings to move in tandem. There are a lot of these button puzzles where like one sibling has to hold down a button so the other can run through, hold down a different button. So we're gonna see a couple of those over the course of the run, and then you meet up and you keep running. This one you're supposed to push the block over and weigh down the button while another sibling moves through, but it's actually faster to jam the mechanism and let Adara take a hit pushing the block through on the other side, because pushing the block is slower than standard running speed. So the less you do of it, the better. Yeah, so there's one other button tutorial, which is the regroup button. So when one of the siblings hits that button, the characters freeze until you use the regroup button. So you basically just you want to hit those on cue to prevent yourself from getting locked in place for too long. At the end of the dream sequence, Greek is found at the bottom of a waterfall, wakes up in the Koran encampment, and is tended to by this woman who is going to give us some soup, in fact. And she won't let the conversation progress until we have healed at least one point of health from that soup. So we want to scroll through the text as fast as possible, eat the soup as fast as possible, and then talk to her again right when we regain that 1 point of health. And because it takes a little time to eat food and for that health regen to happen, it's not good enough to just use the soup. We're going to go ahead and come out into the main encampment and save our game here. That may seem like a waste of time, but it actually spares us a lecture from the guard on our way out of the encampment. Over here we meet this guy Tauros, who's trying to build an airship, and he asks us if we can go out and find some rope for him. And so we are going to go ahead and find some rope. That big rock that I just rolled past is a fast travel point. There are a couple of those over the course of the run. We will be making pretty good use of those. But for now, we're going to go out into the Valora waterfalls and drop down here. Down here, we're just going to go straight to the right. We do have to, that enemy was a little out of position, so we did actually have to fight it. Instead of just ignoring it, we would have preferred to just pick up the rope without fighting it. But, picking up the rope allows us to now just move on into this area. Greak can swim. He has a very limited oxygen meter and does not swim very fast, so we will be limiting the amount that he swims for most of the run. Again, Greek's dodge roll is faster than his standard walking speed, so we are going to do that dodge roll as much as possible. For this, we need to move this platform over. You can move it all of the way, but there's like a little notch right about there, and if you leave it there, then you can make the jump. And so we don't want to push it over any farther than we strictly speaking have to. So that's rope number 2. And we're going to pop through these mushrooms, the little springy mushrooms. If you hit those spiky beneath the bottom, you don't just take damage, it does reset you to your last save ground point. So one thing that you'll notice is that I'm swinging my sword as I pick these ropes up. That's because that cancels the item grab animation and allows me to move a little bit in my desired direction while I'm picking the item up until the text happens. You can actually do the same thing using doors. You can use an animation cancel to allow you to move around when you would normally be stuck in place walking into a door, and that allows you to dodge attacks or attack enemies and defend your siblings as they walk through doors. It's all a little bit funny. Those animation cancels are very, very small optimizations. They save you, very tiny amounts of time. So missing them isn't that big of a deal, but it's worth picking them up where possible. So we're going to go all the way back through the upper part of this area. And it is very important that Greek not fall there, just because if Greek falls, there's no way to get back up from the lower area. Unfortunate bug in this game that I discovered on this run is that if you eat things and then switch areas, the food that you eat doesn't actually heal you when you finish eating it, which is very unfortunate. But regardless, we are going to go ahead and turn the rope into Tauros. He is going to give us a new quest, which is to go get some magic liquid from the swamps. We'll take a quick stop to buy some whetstones because we want those whetstones for later. We will be using them for the last 2 boss fights in the run. We need a total of 3 whetstones. And actually, the newest version of the route actually gets you 3 whetstones, just like from chests that you normally open. So it is actually no longer necessary to buy those. I did buy them because this was my first time running this route, and I didn't really think too hard about the fact that I had all the necessary whetstones. So here we are in the Zindra forest. We're not going to be here too long. This is kind of an interstitial area between the camp and the marshes where we want to be. We're going to go ahead and use the tools that we have at our disposal to pick up a few extra life points. We're going to pick up and eat some mushrooms. We're going to accidentally use a whetstone. And so a lot of this area is just the mechanics of cranks and a little bit of routing. Now, if we went down into the left there, we would get to the marsh entrance quicker, but we actually have a good opportunity here to activate a fast travel point that we can use later. So we're going to run over here and grab this. That's actually going to save us a bunch of time later on. In addition to saving a bunch of backtracking that we don't want to do, it's going to let us skip a small dialogue that we would otherwise have to stop and listen to on the way through. But this is the entrance to the Vega marshes. And so here we are. Vega marshes has these big vines that we have to whap twice with our sword in order to get them to let us through, and they will regrow after a little while. Or actually, maybe we only have to whack them once. And now we get to fight our first boss. So this is the Urlak Scoutmaster or something like that. He has a bunch of his flunkies fight us first. Before we actually get to fight the boss. So this encounter is a little bit more than just that guy. He has of these scout monkeys plus some of these plague monster things here. And we need to kill all of them before he'll come out and fight. And so here we go. Yeah, the Urlag scout leader. And so he, like the lesser scout, he has a lot more HP than the little ones do, but otherwise is pretty much exactly the same to fight. We have to chase him around, and he periodically disappears, and we want to get as many hits on him as possible before he disappears, and a lot of this fight is RNG. But when he drops, he'll give us a silver crest that will allow us to open this door and get the heck out of here and let us continue on into marshes. So a little bit about the water physics in this area. Toward the end of this, there's actually a little a place where you can get clipped into the floor by accident and just drown. And so that's why I'm mostly not dodge rolling through this area, because the water physics can be a little bit finicky, and you can lose an entire run just clipping in. So coming up here, there's this crawl tunnel, and this crawl tunnel is a big point of consternation for us because only Greek can crawl through tunnels. Only Greek is small enough. But in this area, we are actually going to find our sister Adara. And what the game wants us to do in order to finish our quest and get out of here with Adara is to fight another boss and climb through a bunch of different areas and solve some puzzles and all of that, fun times. And the old route up until this run basically either quipped a lot of those puzzles or solved them, relatively efficiently, and then, fought the boss, quick kill and all, and just didn't do anything else too different. So you can see we can skip some of the floating platform puzzles here. There's a whole thing with the beams of light and the reflectors, and a lot of that can actually just be skipped on a lot of these puzzles. But it turns out that there is another way to get Adara out of here. So we're gonna go ahead and pick up our sister and reunite with her. Yay! So now we're siblings for real. And so we need to collect 3 of these. We need to fill 3 of our little magic jars full of magic liquid. We filled one already. We're gonna go ahead and fill the next one right here. In the old version of the route, we wouldn't have filled that first one right away. But in the new version of the route, it makes much more sense to do it this way, because we are actually going to be going out the way we came in instead of going the long way around. So we have another one of these sibling button puzzles to get us in here, and then we're gonna really quickly, this is actually pretty slow, we're going to do this sibling puzzle that we otherwise would have ignored. So this reflector puzzle is a huge pain in the butt, and requires lots of fine adjustment of several things to get everything in the right place, and I didn't have a pre-written out solution for it, so it kind of did not go the way this took a really long time. There's a bunch of cleanup that can be done here. And so basically you need to get the platform a little ways across so that Greek can get to the center, and then you need to get this beam up to that second stone up there to get that gate on that door to open up. So this is a whole thing. And yeah, so setting all of these reflectors up correctly is the whole point of that puzzle. And then Greek can come in here and fill the jar. Now there's a relic in here for Adara that allows her to charge up her magic. It's not actually that useful. We very rarely actually control Adara, and the charge shots are not useful enough to really merit going out of our way for. But basically, what we're going to do now is, and it's actually not even necessary to bring Adara with me, except to solve that, and get back out of here. We're going to take Greek back out through this shortcut that takes us back to the top of the area, and we're gonna go climb back out of the little crawl tunnel in a different direction. So we come back in this crawl tunnel, right? Adara can't follow us this way. So it sort of seems like, what's the point of this? But actually, we are going to take Adara back to the teleporter. The way that we're going to do that is by using a glitch called chest warp. And chest warp abuses the scripted motion properties of opening treasure chests to get Adara to teleport to this treasure chest. So what we're going to do is we're going to switch characters and open the treasure chest at the same time. The game is going to think that Adara is opening the treasure chest for the purposes of animation. Greek actually gets the whetstone, so it's in his inventory. The correct character actually gets the item. But Adara's position immediately shifts over to the teleporter, or over to the treasure chest, because the game requires you to be in a specific position relative to the treasure chest and just snaps you there. And that allows her to bypass the crawl tunnel, and then we can just teleport back to town instead of fighting the boss and going all the way around, and you can see how this is a whole lot faster. So we're going to leave Adara over by the teleport stone, because we're going to go back and teleport to Zindra Woods. We're going to fast travel to Zindra Woods in not that long, because that's where we go to our next quest. Greek is faster, so we're going to run Greek all the way over to Valgor over here, the guy that we bought our whetstones from. He's going to give us our next quest. He's going to give us a key and a piece of rock. And that is going to let us through a gate in Zindra Woods and into the forest fortress. So we're gonna go ahead and climb up this way in the Zindra Forest instead. And there's a bunch of platforms here with a little like venom spewy thing on it, and you can go to the left and like go around that way, but actually it kind of sucks, and you can just climb the right wall like that if you hit the jump correctly. So that's a lot safer and easier, and it's nice to preserve the health there. There used to be a strat in the fortress that allowed for a little skip that required Adara to take some damage, but it turns out you don't actually need it. You can do the skip slightly differently. So we're able to unlock the crank using a key, and that allows us to get through that, but the gate will close as soon as the crank stops, so you can't get through here with one character. You need another character to hold the crank from the other side. And so as soon as Adara goes ahead and lets go of that crank, the gate will fall again, but we'll both be on the same side of it since Greek already passed through. You can hear the gate closing in the background, so we'll need both characters to get on the way back. It is not strictly true that you need both characters on the way back, but it is the fastest way. So we are going to go through here. There's our fortress. The reason that we're coming to the fortress with the piece of rock, Lorian ore, that was given to us by Valgor, is that we need to refine it into Lorian metal. The Lycer Fortress, that is the area that we are in right now, and Lycer Fortress has quartz, so we can, or furnaces that we can use to smelt Lorian. So you're not really supposed to be able to make that jump there. You're supposed to go the long way around, but it turns out that Adara can jump high enough and float high enough that you are actually able to climb up there without going around the long way. And so you do need Greek to solve this puzzle. You can't. This is not one of the ones that you can do with just one sibling. So we have Greek come over there, and Adara goes over and gets a gear. We need 2 gears in order to advance into the deep interior of the fortress. while wall clipping in this game has been invented, it requires you to have somebody in the same area to talk to. There is nobody in the fortress for us to speak to, so we're not able to make use of that really. In this room, you are able to have Adara get through the first half of this puzzle without Greek, but he is actually necessary for the second half of the puzzle. So we do need to lower the crank here and have them both climb up to the upper area and come around just so we get to the second part of this. It would be great if I could solve these puzzles, if we could find a way to solve these puzzles without having to take two characters. You just leave somebody at the entrance and let that be the end of it. But there are a couple puzzles in here that we haven't been able to find a bypass for. So once this ladder is down, we can both of the characters can come through this way, and we can hop out of here and be on our way. So now there's a little mechanism back to the left and below that we need to insert these gears in. And once we insert the gears in the mechanism, then we'll be able to, it'll open this gate that's down here, and we'll be able to move through. The fire in this area is very finicky and has a weird cycle length, and so it's really it's important to not get burned, especially if your Greek, as mine did, is really hurting. So I took a little extra time here to make sure that he recovered. Did this entirely in the wrong order. This is a little bit of a messy thing, but basically you can use you can get up here with Greek, and then you're supposed to send another character around through the middle path to unlock a door on the lower right. But actually, once again, Adara can jump high enough and float high enough that she can get up here, and that allows her to move past, and then we can just open this button and move on through. And that's great. That's good for us. We're going to take a safety save here because the next boss is kind of a butt. This Urlag Bonebreaker has some really important attacks. Attacks us in ways that are sometimes hard to avoid, but it's very advantageous to have both Greek and Adara here because you do basically 50% extra damage having Adara's projectiles if you can stack everybody up. Especially in this rage phase where he's jumping around, it's much easier for Adara to hit him. And that was a pretty good clean kill overall, honestly. I was pretty happy with that one. So now we can operate the mechanism and get the Lorian ore. This is another thing that is twin required. For some reason, the crank that hoists the pot down into the furnace will just retract if somebody lets go of it. So after we get the Lorian ore, then Adara has this vision of our older brother Radel being in a snowy temple. So we need to get the heck out of here and grab him. We're going to go ahead and grab this whetstone. Why am I leaving Adara there, you might ask? And the answer is because I'm going to chest teleport her, and Greek moves faster by himself. There we go. And so that saves a little bit of time. It's not a huge time save, but it is a little bit of a time save. It's a little bit faster to do that chest warp than it is not to. And now Greek has a small elixir and can heal 2 hit points instantly. The nice thing about elixirs is that they don't take time to consume the way that food does. Food heals your health over time, but elixirs heal it pretty much instantly. Not exactly instantly, but pretty much. So now we have to go back through the Zindra forest and all the way back to the teleport point and head back to town. There's nothing particularly special about this run. We're going to run back to the crank. Somebody's going to grab onto it, open the door. The other person's going to go through, hold on to the crank from the other side so that the other person can swim through. Then we're just going to run back to the teleport point. It's not a very far run. I just got a couple of minutes here. In the if you were to do an all relics run of this, which nobody has done an all relics speedrun yet, it is on my docket, you wouldn't actually be able to skip Adara out of the Vega marshes. You would actually have to go through the boss fight because there is a relic along that general path that you do need to go and get. I think the routing works out that way. All right, it's time for another fun trick. So chest warp, we've already done. So now it's time for the next big glitch. Spooky banter at a distance. So by skipping Adara out of the Vega marshes, we missed the entire segment that pops us out through this storeroom, like we come out of the bottom of the storeroom. So this door is locked from the other side. But basically, by remote talking to Valgor, Adara is able to walk through walls. Because the game has a scripted walk over to a person that you are talking to. So if you do that remote interaction, switching characters at the same time as you talk to somebody instead of opening a treasure chest, the character that you switch to will do the scripted walk, and that will pass them through walls. Now, one thing that's kind of interesting about that is that when you do it with treasure chests, the character who actually opens the treasure chest is the one who gets the item. But when you do it with talking, the character that you switch to is the one that actually functionally does the talking. So you can interact with NPCs from very far away if you have a sibling over there, and this is really useful for turning in key items. So over here we need to find a way to open up a bridge to get across a lethal gap into Sork Ashen. And so the way that this is supposed to work is we go over to where the bridge is. It's out. There's a woodsman over there. His name is Yensi. He goes, "Hey, I could build you a bridge if only my friend Farvin were here. Can you go find him?" Oh, but he's pretty distrustful. So he won't just come here if you tell him to come here. You have to bring him this letter. And so the idea is that whoever talks to Yensi has to bring the letter over to Farvin. And that's all good and well. But it's also annoying to have to run all the way around and, solve several puzzles. So what we're going to do is we're going to take Greak over and talk to Yensi. Adara is hanging out over by Farvin. And both of these characters happen to be in the Valora Waterfalls area. So even though we went into the Valora Waterfalls through two different entrances, we're in the same area, which means that remote interaction will work. So we are going to move Greak over to a part of the area where there aren't any enemies to worry about, and we're going to engage spooky banter at a distance. And so we'll be talking to Farvin from very far away, and we will present him with this letter. And Farvin will, of course, accept the letter from us from very far away. Whoa. And both of the siblings will be teleported over to Yensi, who will talk to Farvin and be like, "Where the heck have you been, dude?" And Farvin was like, "I was building a fort." And Yensi's like, let's chop down this tree instead. It's not super clear to me why Yensi needs Farvin, though, because as you can see, Yensi actually does most of the work of chopping down the tree. I don't care. But so with the tree chopped down, we can now cross this gap and head into Sork Ashen. So Sork Ashen is the home of a bunch of really interesting ice puzzles. There are these bonfires that you pick up torches from, and you use the torches to melt the ice. And we are going to do almost none of the ice puzzles in Sork Ashen. We are going to do exactly one of them, and we're going to do it in a way that is completely unintended. So we're going to come down here. We need to clear out some enemies down here so that they don't get in our way. It's pretty important. And then, once we've we've done that, we are going to come over here and engage the third major glitch of the run, and that is called Firefly. Firefly allows you to use torches to just, to literally fly. If you drop a torch in midair and then re-engage with it, you get your double jump back. And the important part of getting, the important part of that is basically you can release and repeatedly grab the torch in midair to get your jump back again and again. And so while I make a little bit of a mess of it here, it is certainly easier to do if you have Adara come over and operate the wheel for you. But the potential is slower. That is the trick to Firefly. Basically, you just want to repeatedly release and continue jumping and grabbing the torch again and again. So yeah, so this is what it looks like, and you can even gain height this way. So you're not required to just move horizontally with it. So I ran and took a quick safety save. You don't strictly speaking need to, but the fastest thing to do from here is go and use this chest to chest teleport Adara over to you, and then we kind of move on with our lives. There is a teleport stone here. We will be completely ignoring it. We're going to go ahead and drop that item. It is a sellable item. We're not going to use it. Basically, we're just going to move on from here into the next area, which is Ourcantos Temple. Ourcantos Temple is the home of some ice puzzles that we do actually have to do. But we're not going to do them the intended way. We are mostly going to use Firefly to circumvent the intended puzzle solutions, which is going to make Ourcantos Temple a lot faster. Sork Ashen has a lot of fiddling with ice puzzles in the lower parts of it if you don't use Firefly to skip to the upper areas of it. And yes, the plague birds in this area freeze you, which is super, super fantastic. You largely do not want to get hit by them. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to come over here. We are going to take a quick... Firefly actually lets you move faster with a torch than basic walking does, but we're going to come over here and light that brazier so that we set an escape route for us when we're on our way out of this area. Even though we're not going to be going through that way. We're going to go ahead and fly this torch up here and light the lower brazier down here, and then also light this over here. It wasn't really necessary to light that lower one right that second. Greak will be coming back to that in a little bit, but it's not... it's a pretty small time loss, and ice blocked. The dashing sword attacks from these sword and shield enemies will also freeze you, so that's another thing to be wary of. This is another Urlog that you'd ideally like to skip having to fight, but again, it's really a matter of where the enemy RNG ends up placing the enemy. So you need Adara here exactly for this one puzzle, or that one part of the puzzle, and then there's supposed to be a big back and forth with pushing the ladder below, and like melting another row of ice blocks in the lower part, and then, you just use Firefly to skip that whole thing. You fly across the bridge that way. And then, again, just use Firefly to fly up, rather than bothering to bring Adara around to trampoline you. So now we can go ahead and exit from here. I actually could have left Adara here, could have left Adara there, and should have left Adara there. In fact, because there is a really convenient chest teleport later on, so we're going to leave Adara there. This is about the point where I realized about the chest teleport. So here you are supposed to hit that switch, again to raise the water level once the raft is below here. And that allows you to, raising that causes the brazier to melt the ice, which allows you through. But in practice, you can just use firefly, and if you get it correctly, then it's faster. I messed it up a few times there, so that was probably at least a wash with regard to having the switch available. Here again, you're supposed to use the siblings to solve this puzzle. And like pushing things back and forth to and waiting down the elevators over there to get through here, but because we can fly, we can basically just skip all of that and grab the moon sigil that goes with the sun sigil from before. One chest warp later and Adara is with us. We can open this and run and go set the sigils. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And run out here. There is a long series of puzzles to the right that culminate in you coming back around from the upper area to the left. Again, we're just not going to do any of those. We're going to firefly one last time. This is going to be the last fly of the run. So we do this to get through here. Light the brazier to save ourselves a little bit of trouble on the way out. And we're just going to go ahead and run right past this guy, right straight past him, and move on into this little area. Now here, struggle to call this a puzzle, but there's basically two places for the siblings to put their hands, and that causes this little stone cover to slide down and expose the light seal, which is an important plot item that we don't actually know anything about. And cut to Radel, our older brother, coming into the fortress through a window. Good job, Radel. And so Radel is going to fight his way through here. Radel, as I mentioned, has a hook shot. He also has a shield. He has a big sword. Unlike Greak, he can't move while he's swinging his sword unless he's in the air and thus already moving. So if you swing his sword on the ground, he will just stop. Radel's armor is also too heavy for him to swim. So we need to make sure that Radel doesn't fall into the water at basically all costs. But you can use it to block projectiles. Those are not fireballs, they're ice balls. They will freeze him if he gets hit. It's actually a little bit faster to go up and use the hookshot points. There is a lot of fun movement there, and you can preserve some of Radel's hookshot momentum going around corners if you do it right. I haven't really worked that part of his movement that carefully because it's usually not something that you can do extensively. But taking that key and opening that door brings us back to this altar where an Urlog has ambushed our younger siblings, and so now we're going to go ahead and beat the heck out of the Urlog frost Ankar. And the way that this fight goes basically is you put Adara in a place to auto attack as much as she can when you pull the Urlog shield away. This is a messy fight here. I forgot about that. So that she does a bunch of damage, and then you grab the sigil and talk to Greak. There's going to be a little cutscene here where there's a very heartfelt family reunion. Also, please ignore the timer on the right. The gold that is being sapped away is fake gold from a bad split. I cannot do than I did it in this run. I had a very minor set of slowdowns in this particular. This was mostly a very clean Ourcantos temple. I did lose a little bit of time over my best, my absolute best, but I do have a bad split in my splits, so please pay no mind to the Fort Firefly split. My sum of best is also a little bit of a lie. So now we're going to go ahead and run our way back to the entrance of the temple. One more reminder that Radel cannot, in fact, swim, and so he needs to hookshot separately. The little kids cannot go with him on his hookshot. He can't take them. They can't mimic that, so you do have to switch back and forth between them. It's not that big of a deal. When we hit the entrance, there's actually a forced cutscene. We don't walk all the way back to camp. We get back there through cutscene walking, basically. And so at this point, we get back to camp and they let us know that the airship is basically finished, but they need a magic stone called a primeval creep creepy, I guess. I'm not sure exactly if I'm pronouncing it correctly. I'm gonna say creep. To power the airship. And so we have to... The expedition that they sent to go get it went missing, so we are going to go try to find them. So creeps are also these like magic stones that we've been using for money, but the important ones are primeval creeps, and they have plot significance, and without it we can't leave. And so we are going to run way the heck down here. So this is sort of where we came during our rope gathering quest right at the beginning of the game. But here, instead of going right, we are going to go left, and that is going to take us through to the Varane Ruins. And in the Varane Ruins, we are going to, again, skip a lot of puzzles so that we can get to the expedition as fast as possible. So we're going to come in here. It's not... the most important thing about this area is that if we had come here any earlier than this plot point, there is a big door on the left-hand side of this room that would not be open. But it is open now because the expedition went in, and now we can basically just stroll through. It's not a big deal. There's a bunch of Urlogs and like plague monsters and stuff like that, but like, hey, where isn't there a bunch of Urlog and plague monsters at this point? These little floating crystal things are things that Radel can hookshot onto. The lasers require Radel's shield to block, and hitting the bells causes these grapple points to turn into platforms. So you can see how there's like a bunch of navigation here that could be done by Radel that can't be done by any of the other characters, and that you need him to get them through. There is a lot. There were a lot of puzzles on the left-hand side of this map, and we're basically not going to go much farther left than where Radel is right now. So, having gotten Greak and Adara through the laser barrier, there's this water area that, of course, Radel can't swim, so he can't go here. And you're supposed to position Greak up top and have him wait for Adara to go around and open the crank for him, but if you're willing to take a couple of points of damage, you can just swing them around together. That's faster. And that gets them up here. From here, it is possible for Adara to basically just float up to these platforms, and that actually skips her up. So this big door that we passed by earlier, this is where we need to get all 3 of our siblings to. So that's the important thing. And solving all of the puzzles and going through and around the fairly long and intricate set of puzzles over there is meant to meant to eventually get everybody there. So basically, what we're gonna do is, now that Adara has had her light in the sun skip, we are going to go ahead and let Greak have his early skip. He can make this platform jump, and that allows that basically just allows us to move on. We're gonna have Radel pick up some whetstone. Radel was actually supposed to pick up both of those whetstones, but womp womp. And with all 3 siblings here, the door will open and we can get into the inner chamber of the Varine ruins. And that where we find that the expedition was set upon by the Urlag Conqueror. Is this beefy guy. And so our heroes, our sorted ones in particular, are going to use whetstones, which is going to temporarily power them up. I did pass another whetstone over to Radel because we will want it for the final fight. So the mechanic in this fight is that these bells disorient this guy, and if you're patient enough and you do it right, you can use a bell multiple times. And you don't want to get hit by him. So this one takes a little bit longer than kind of the optimal fight does. Still ends up being the goal. We're basically going to wait here and just wail on him. He's going to hold up his stone that he was going to use to knock the bell down and summon more monsters, and we basically just whack him to death during that time. So, messy fight notwithstanding, we are now free to go back and talk to this expedition member, Morella, who's going to be sad that her, comrades and everyone are super dead, which is in fact sad. And then she's also going to, again, basically cutscene us back to camp, where the guard will be like, hey, this light seal that you gave us, it's time for us to take it to one other temple, because the boss that we fought before, when we killed him with his dying breath, he shattered the stone that we need to power our airship, and basically the light seal that we found before lets us get into some ruins that have another one. Basically, there's one more. This auto-scroller section, I don't know, I got distracted here and ran into 4 of those barriers at the very beginning. The rest of this goes completely smoothly. If you die here, you do have to restart this segment, but you don't get a game over, at least. So I'm very sorry to the Boscos, who are incredibly cute. Like, look at these armored guinea pigs. They're just, very, very cute animals. I love the designs. But so, the rest of this is really, you jump over pits, you dodge back into the background and the foreground to avoid the barriers, but it is it's essentially an auto-scroller. And at the end of this auto-scroller, which is coming up in not too long, we will be at the big final labyrinth, where we will have to solve a bunch of puzzles. And let me tell you, there are no more glitch. There are no more glitch applications for the rest of the game. The entire rest of this is glitch free. I haven't found any place to use any glitches anywhere that are actually valuable uses for them. But compared to prior runs, the routing in Aldalar Labyrinth, excuse me, the routing in Aldalar Labyrinth is way cleaner, because I discovered there are basically 3 puzzles that you have to solve to open the main central door in Aldalar Labyrinth that let you go to where you find the stone and access the final boss battle. And 2 of those 3 can be done with just Greak. You do not need either Radel or Adara to solve them. And the reason that this is important is because a lot of the movement in Aldalar Labyrinth is designed around the idea that you will be having siblings switch places with each other, like switch positions with each other, at designated teleport stones. So we're gonna run over here and open this door. I also got a little bit confused about which direction I was going. This is the wrong way. What we're going to do now is there's basically a little watery area. So these stones that have these like mushroom-like inscriptions on them, they come in pairs, and if 2 different siblings touch each one of the pair, then they will magically switch places. So here's this water puzzle here. One of the siblings that can swim is supposed to swim around to the other side, open that crank, and then let Radel through, and Radel is then supposed to use his hookshot to come up here and hit the barrier stone, but it turns out that Greak can actually make this jump all by himself and hit the barrier stone, and taking that hit there is not a big deal because you do get a free hit point back every time you break one of those barrier stones. And we have a little bit more healing on the way to our next place. So Greak is now going to turn the crank here to let himself out and move on to the next puzzle. What's going to happen here is there's a puzzle where Radel is supposed to use his hookshot to get up to a teleporter that allows Greak to get somewhere that he's otherwise not supposed to be able to reach, so that he can crawl through a crawl space and hit one of these, and that's not what's going to happen. So Radel needs somebody to help him teleport out of where he is, because it's mostly gated by water and Radel can't swim. So Radel is going to run down around here and switch places with Greak. This is the place switching mechanic that I talked about. That is the only instance of place switching that we're going to see in the entire solution to this puzzle. So Greak is going to come down here and do this. Adara is a stronger swimmer and can do this in one go, but the upshot of doing this with Greak is that Greak actually needs to come up here anyway, because this is how we're getting to the next gate stone. So Greak is going to come up here and take some damage there and swing across. And Radel was supposed to teleport Greak up here, but hey, who needs it? And we crawl through this tunnel. And at the end of crawling through this tunnel, we're just going to be at the second stone. And so the hit that we took in order to get here is of no consequence, because again, we get an auto heal. And Greak is at full HP. Greak is also not going to be joining us for the final battle. That's not going to happen. So Greak is going to go just hang out here. And Radel and Adara are going to go meet up with each other over in the general area of the third puzzle. And so Adara is going to make her way down and meet up with Radel over here. And okay, so now back over here, what's going to happen basically is Adara is going to come through here and swim down and activate this switch and go grab this boat and bring it over. And that raft is what's going to enable Radel to come down here. And Radel is going to land on this. Adara is going to pull it a little bit over, and then Radel's shield is going to be the catalyst for blocking that. Adara is going to come through, and then that is the solution to the puzzle. So now the door to the primeval crib is open, and we can go on and finish the game. Now, zapping our characters is the fastest way to get them back up here. They're going to take those hits. Only Adara and Radel are actually going to go into the final battle. The final battle is actually not especially risky with the finest of strats, so we're really only going to worry about recovering Radel's hit points. We don't need to worry about Adara so much. So we run into this area, and here is this yellow stone that matches the one that the last boss had been holding. So we're going to take that, and that unleashes the Plague Abomination, because that crib had been neutralizing plague in the land. So Radel can get 2 hits in per jump with good slashing when it's in the center like that, but that's really the slowest. We like it in the corner here. You can tuck into the corner and just like this, and these ground slams do nothing when it's tucked into the corner. And then it's going to pop up basically in the foreground. We're going to jump over that slam, position ourselves so that we get auto attacks and wail on it. So now we get a couple more good chances to go ahead and whack its foot right there. It's going to disappear. We're going to wait for it to pop up at the edge. Go ahead and stick ourselves. It's in the enraged state, so it's going to slam 3 times, and actually 4th time as well. And now we're going to go ahead, and that's the end of the fight. This is not a very long fight. It does go a little bit faster with Greak, but getting Greak back to the door to join the fight takes longer than the amount of time that you save. So it's better to fight with just these two. RNG does play a factor in that fight. Where the boss chooses to spawn on each cycle is a big deal. What exactly it chooses to do, because it can spawn some minor enemies and affect how things are. So there is some RNG factor, but overall that's a really good, clean fight. And now we basically just have this escape sequence. It's not even very long, but this switch will now let us out of the labyrinth where it wouldn't before. And the whole labyrinth is just going to collapse. And we are going to go ahead and make our way back out. And in a little bit, we're going to hit the final cutscene trigger, and that is going to be time. And time. And that's the run. So I hope that you enjoyed Greak Memories of Azur 80%. I hope that there are more things for us to find with this run, but even not. This has been a really fun and engaging run, and I hope that you enjoyed it.